Hello, hello. Let's wait a couple of minutes so people can come. Yeah, I'll try to do that. Okay, hello everyone again. Let's wait one more minute to see if there's anyone still coming, and we will start. All right, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon. It's afternoon for me. So, welcome. We'll talk today about direct suspense and meteor dynamic imports. I hope to give you an overview of it. I think you're seeing my screen, right? Yeah, okay, good night for you. Yeah, okay, guys. So let's start by giving some background on who I am and why I can be here talking to you guys. I'm a software engineer at Meteor Software, but I've been a long time native developer for iOS and Android. And I think the main thing about it is that I'm using Meteor for a long time. So these troubles that I'm going to talk here is the ones that I face it. I face it in personal projects or on production projects. Okay, if you want to know more about me, please reach me out on GitHub. Okay, so let's start. So let's start. Let's suppose you have a React app and you want to add some cool graphs to it. So it's almost like every dashboard. You start with some numbers, but then you want to show graphs because graphs are great, graphs are beautiful, and you want your app to be shiny. Okay, you have a really fast app and then want to add graphs. Okay, so you pick this library. I'm just grabbing an example so we can see how it goes. So you pick eCharts because it's from Apache, very complete. There's a lot of graphs. You like it, some graphs from this list. And then you create a new page inside your single page app, inside your React app using Meteor. And yeah, your graph works and everything is great, but then you deploy it to production and then your app won't start. Okay, your app won't load, or it will load after 2 or 3 seconds. Some users are even complaining that it doesn't load at all on 3G or mobile networks or slow Wi-Fi's. Okay, that's we need to get to the root cause of that. Why does that happen? You only added one graph. What's happening? Because is it Meteor fault or not? Okay, for looking at that, I'm going to get the eCharts example. And what I'm showing here to you is the site called bundlephobia.com. It shows NPM dependent size and the download time for that. So here I'm showing the eCharts bundlephobia graphs. Okay, you see here that the bundle size for graphs or the eCharts library is 1 MB mini file. So that's really huge. In a slow 3G network, that's going to take 6 seconds to load. So you're basically making your app unusable on mobile networks. Okay, but then we have Meteor that have the solution for this, Meteor with React, and we're going to talk about it for some time. Okay, so there's a lot of words here, but what I want to say to you is that when you add a graph here, you added just one graph, okay? And then your app was slow, but you added just one. But that doesn't matter because we're adding the whole library for loading graphs. They have a lot of dependencies and they are 6 seconds to load in the 3G network. And then what can we do? So Meteor solution for that is simple. We just split uh, some parts of our app to be loaded after. So the issue here is the initial load time. When you added a new library that is huge and big, the initial load time is going to be very bad. It's going to affect it because your bundle size is going to increase and your clients are not going to be happy with that. So uh, while a statically imported module, like a module that you import in the normal way you do in the top level, like import eCharts from eCharts, okay? This is bundled into the initial JavaScript bundle. So when your page loads, for it to load, you need to download the initial JavaScript bundle. Otherwise, it's not going to load. It's going to wait for it. And if you dynamically import a module like this graph library I'm suggesting, it's going to be fetched from the server at runtime. Okay, it's not going to wait for the bundle, and it's not even going to be bundled into the initial. It's going to be a separate JS file. You can see here my screen that I've attached the network tab of a Chrome tab that this app here is a production app running with Meteor, and you can see there's a request, a fetch request to this endpoint is underscore Meteor dynamic import fetch. Okay. And this endpoint is the one that Meteor used to serve dynamic imported modules. Okay. So the client, when it needs to use the module, it do a fetch, a post request, sorry, to your server, and then this server is going to answer with the modules that it needed. Okay, so there's also something you need to understand. Okay, I'm going to show a little diagram here, but it's really important to understand this. It's not exactly something that you would expect, but if you have your page like coolshartpage.jsx, and this cool sharp page, you are going to optimize it and you are going to dynamic import eCharts like we have proposed here. And you say, okay, everything is going to be fast. My module is going to be splitted. There's another JS file. Renan is saying to me that my app is going to be faster. It's going to be downloaded in runtime. But let's suppose eCharts also depends on TSLib and zrender. And with Meteor, everything, all dependencies are scanned in a tree manner. So we start from the page, We start from your files that are imported or the files that are served, and then we scan in a three-way for all dependents that this file has. So eCharts, and you're importing dynamically, and eCharts depends on TSLib. So we see if the module was imported dynamically, and then we also import dynamic independence of that. Okay, but what are the implications of that? Let's suppose you have another component. I'm calling here an static linked component. This component is loaded at runtime. It's been bundled in your initial bundle. And then this component imports the Z-render in a static way. Okay. You can see that the chart is calling it dynamic and static linked component is calling it static. What is going to win? The static one. So this component is going to be bundled in the initial bundle. Okay, that's why you need to be careful, because you can have parts of our code that are being that are importing dependencies dynamic, and other that are being called static, and then the static is always going to win. So you have to be careful about that. Okay, but we are talking about splitting JS files. You don't deal with JS files directly when developing with React. You deal with components. Okay, so let's see what React has to solve it. It's called React delays and React suspense. Okay, I think you can see the code here. It's very big. Let me know in the chat if you can't read it. But you can see here that we're importing from React, the React, and also Suspense, which is expected. You always have to import React in the top level. It's good to know it's here. Okay, and here you are doing what we have to do. We are using dynamic imports. Okay, other component is being imported in dynamic way. Okay, this syntax may seem strange for you if you haven't used it already, because you are mostly use it to imports in the top level. But here the import is inside a function. Okay, so this import actually it resolves to a promise. This import call doesn't return the module for you at the moment, because it has to do, remember, a fetch call to your server, to our Meteor server, to grab the JS files. Okay, so this is going to return a promise. And then we have React delays wrapping this function that is calling a dynamic import. Okay, and this is what we can use. The other component here is the thing we can use. Okay, but this other component, as I said, can be a promise, can be there, it can be not, because it starts a network and then it can resolve after. And what we do, we use suspense, and suspense has a property called fallback that you can pass a component that's going to be rendered while the other component's not available. Okay, let's suppose your user is in a really slow network and it loads your app. The initial bundle is loaded because it's small and also fast. And then you are going to the graph page. Okay, then it's going to start a network request to grab the component. And then this component may take a while. And what Suspense is going to do is to fall back to this component we have passed, like a loading text. And then when the component is available, it's going to render it. Okay, I think that's understandable. But there's also good things that really help us is that you can use React router and Suspense. So you can split routes with JS files. Let's suppose we have the initial bundle. Inside our initial bundle, you're only going to add the home. Here in my example, I'm not even adding home in the initial bundle. You can see it's dynamically imported. But in the usual scenario, you are going to have the home in the initial bundle and only the necessary inside your initial bundle. And then for all other routes, you are going to add a lazy import. But that will highly depend on your business logic, because you might want to have a support page that's really fast to open, don't have to wait. So that's something you have to decide inside your application. But you can see here, we are using the switch from the React router DOM component, and you can see we have two routes, and these routes are using a home component, but this home component is not exactly a simple component. It's a lazy imported component. And then what we have said that always upper in a higher hierarchy level of something that is using a lazy imported component, you have to use suspense for fallbacking. Okay, and then here we add suspense outside of the switch. What this is going to do? This is going to let you grow your single page application without having huge load times. So let's suppose this is a really huge dashboard for admins, and you have like 20 or 30 pages here, and all pages have components, and these components are npm libraries, and these npm libraries are huge, like e-shards. Things get crazy. Your initial bundle can have up to 50 megabytes of data, and that for mobile data, it's impossible to load. So your client's going to be really upset with you. And the new feature you have developers not going to bump as you thought it would. Okay, so splitting the bundle in routes is a smart move because you can grow your app, you can more routes without worrying about initial bundle time. Okay, there is one gotcha here that React Lazy currently only supports default. Uh, React Lazy current only supports the full exports. So when you're going to write your component, you might be used to exporting a name export here. So export const lazy component. But if we go back here, the import here is not using named imports. And that's a React lazy definition for now. So you have to export your lazy component as the full, but that's mainly the only restriction, the only rule you need to follow, because it's not hard to add a default export and name it export, so you can use it anywhere else. But yeah, I think enough talk. Let me demo something. I've get some live here. Okay. I'm talking about graphs, right? So I've put the example, the main boilerplate Meteor React thing, and then I've added e-shards. Okay. And what this is going to do with my bundle size. I'm using lazy here. I go to the tab that's without lazy. Okay, without lazy, I've run Lighthouse in this website that is mainly HTML and takes no time to load. And I've run Lighthouse on it. And then the first contentful paint is 1 second. Okay, the user is going to wait 1 second for having a first contentful paint. It's not good. So we are going to improve it with lazy. And here we can go to the network tab and we can see the bundle, the JS bundle. Okay, is the JS bundle that's downloaded into inside the initial load. And you can see it's 4,000 megabytes or almost sorry, 500 kilobytes. It's huge. So the same as the font size I was showing in my presentation, it's really huge. So this is not acceptable for only a shard. Okay. And then with lazy, we can compare. Our first initial bundle is 100 kilobytes. Okay. And our lighthouse is 0.6 seconds. And what I've changed, only dynamic imports. Okay. So let's go to the code. I think the font's okay here too. Let me know if it's not. I was talking, we have only the simple skeleton here. So it's just a Meteor startup rendering an app, a React app. And we go to the app.js to see. And there's 3 components here. But the one that we are interested on is the chart component. It just calls React e-shards for React. And it renders a chart using some sample data. Okay, this is the without lazy project. And you can see it's very simple. We have just imported the component without caring about anything. And if we run it with the following tags, like extra package bundle visualizer and production, we can simulate how it would show and how it would be in a production environment. Minify it, and with all the optimizations Meteor do when building. Okay, so here we have the without lazy is the project that I've shown you. we can see that the initial bundle without doing targz, without compressing, is 1.6 megabytes. It's like 1,500 kilobytes. It's really huge. So you can see here what is the main cause. It's this orange bar here. We can go to node modules, and then we find the culprit. It's e-shards. The e-shards we have added for adding just this shard to this page. Okay, so you can see that you need to be careful when adding modules to your project. You have to be really thoughtful about what are the implications in the initial load and the initial bundle. Okay, because this can have a really meaningful impact for your user. Okay, and then let's see our solution. You might be think it's really simple, because it really is. And we go here and we have the same app component, but now we are importing the shard in using React Lazy. Okay, so we are importing shard, and the shard is being used as usual, but only the main thing here is that it's being wrapped by a suspense call. Okay, and then let's go to the shard component. It's the same component. The only difference here is that it's the full exported. Okay, we could have exported two ways: the named part and then the full part. Okay, but this is the same component, just exported by the full. And okay, then we did the same thing to it, and let's look at the bundle size. Okay, is less than half. It's 400 kilobytes. It's just it's really a reduction. Like, so if we see here, we won't see the eShards module here, or we are going to see some small things that React eShards is statically depending on. Okay, so we don't see the same size. Okay, eShards here is 44 kilobytes, and eShards here is 900. Okay, so that's the magic. And let's see it running. Okay, I'm going to load it with lazy shard, and you can almost not see it loading. And without lazy, you can see that it takes more time to load, and Lighthouse is telling that to us. So using Lighthouse is a good way to debug single page applications performance issues. Splitting your bundle is also a really good another strategy you can use. Okay, and yeah, I think I've talked all that I wanted. Okay, I want to have a right now a time for you to ask any questions you have. It can be about what we talked, but feel free to ask me. And yeah, really use React Suspense and Lazy inside your applications with Meteor dynamic imports, because in this way you can grow your single page application without growing your initial bundle size, which is a must to have if you're developing single page applications. Okay, everyone, if anyone has any questions or comments, please let me know in the chat. Otherwise, thank you. Thank you for listening to me. Thanks for being at Impact. So we have more presentations to come. So there's a lot of talks, great talks from a lot of people. And thank you for listening. And if you have any doubts apart from this slides, or I'm going to attach the slides to this session. And if you have any questions about it, please let me know. You can reach me out on Slack or here too. Okay, so thanks everyone.